think that design has the power to influence the way people think and the decisions they make. And I think that as designers, we really have a power, or the responsibility, to uphold that power and use that power for good.
I think design can change the world because there's different types of changes to be made with design.
Before we identified the problem, we actually wanted to go in and meet with them and see what they would identify as their problem before we sort of defined it ourselves. And so when we first went and talked to them, we knew that sort of what we wanted to approach was their overall branding system. And so, I mean, to a certain extent we defined the problem, but we really wanted to find why their current branding was problematic and why they felt it was. And when we talked to them, the problem that they had sort of identified for us was that there's just no consistency in their brand, and everything they do speaks in a different way, has a different message, is either done by a different person and in a completely different style, or there just isn't consistency, so it's really hard for them to send out messages and communications that always look like them and sound like them.
We started with looking at the icon within the logo itself and seeing what we could pull from that so that it's already developing a consistent feel and look. And that's where I guess we started looking at all these different types of patterns. So working with the same line density and creating kind of a system with patterns rather than illustrations as they originally suggested. And then further looking at what kind of typefaces they need to use to create this consistent feel across all their applications.
We probably went through about, I don't know, 5 or so complete revisions throughout the project, but ended up arriving back at something that was sort of similar to what we had begun with. So that was kind of interesting because we did try to go different routes, show them different options, but we ended up coming back towards where we were in the beginning, which was definitely an interesting sort of cycle.
I think probably the biggest challenge for this project was time management in terms of meeting with clients and working on their time, as well as balancing our school time and when things were due timeline-wise. We obviously wanted to accommodate for the clients as best as we could while still maintaining the deadlines that our teachers established for us.
I think one of the biggest challenges and considerations to make when we were trying to develop a concept was thinking about the fact that we're developing a rebrand for a company that, as I've mentioned before, doesn't have a lot of funding, won't have a lot of funding in the future, and isn't often working with designers. So really trying to think from a perspective that they're working with just regular people all the time on their communications, and how we can sort of write a brand guide to speak to these people rather than to speak to designers, which is who we'd usually be writing it for. What we did is introduce a system for them that allows their brand to be visually consistent among different platforms and applications, so that when they do create posters for their events, they do send out brochures for their events, it always looks like a Kingston Arts Council event, and people always know it's them and what their intentions are with it, because they know who they are and what they stand for.
We actually developed a template for a poster because a lot of the people that are coming in to help them aren't actually trained designers, they're students and artists. So creating a poster template that helps them just plug in the necessary information that carries this consistent feel across, and letting them work with more of the art for the poster.
One of the highlights of the project for me was definitely working with such a passionate group of people who are as passionate about the art community as we are, but also working with people who are so willing to hear our ideas and open up their minds to a new way of doing things, and who were really, they were happy with our work.
Graphic design is so different from what some people would expect it to be. So coming in thinking that this is just completely art-based, yes, that is to some extent helpful to have this raw artistic talent, but further you're really just wanting to solve communication issues.
Everything that I've learned in this program has been absolutely incredible. I wouldn't be the designer I am today if I hadn't been in this program, but it goes so far beyond the program as well. And by saying that, I just mean that you can learn as much as you can on your own, and you really have to. You have to get online, you have to get out there, you have to try to get into the community as much as you can and learn as much about design as you can outside of school, because that's how you're going to set yourself apart from other designers.